Welcome, Pod 51. We're going to start a little differently. We're going to cheers to Caitlin Clark for breaking the record. Cheers,
all
Caitlin.
All-time scoring record.
Yes.
Yeah, male or female, just all time.
She's a badass, dude.
Yeah, she's
a
awesome.
badass.
Yeah, all time against Pete Maravich. And then also she broke the three-pointers in a season. That was Curry and McGee. So
Nice.
just breaking records night after night.
Right, and like setting them in different categories and shit too. That's pretty neat.
What are we drinking on this one, Charlie, while we're cheers on
Yes,
this one?
absolutely. Good call. The Red Rye Lager from our friends just down the road at Pigeon Head. Literally just down the road on 4th Street.
One of my very first breweries that I went to in town was, other than like Silver Peak, you know, because that was like lunch stuff. Pigeon Head was the first one I went into. Smashed this Red Rye Lager. Was been in love with it fucking ever since. That was 6-7 years ago, something like that. It's a fucking staple of mine.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this because this is one of my favorite reds.
It's probably dude. It might be my favorite. There might be a couple others you find here and there, but as like a staple in my drinking is a Red Rye Lager from Pigeon Head, 100%.
Flagships need to be recognized. It drinks at the clean 7%, so for a lager, that's pretty good. It definitely has that nice red.
Yes.
The red malt that's a little bit more. So it's still a lager, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, it has that traditional lager body to it, but with the red, you get more of that malt than you traditionally do. It's like you think like a Coors lager or like it's red's away. So it's an upgraded version of that, and it's perfect. It's well balanced. I enjoy this beer a whole lot.
Might have to go with the other one out of the fridge and crack
Say
it.
a little dangerous drinking, 7% are that easy sometimes, but as this guy has already sampled all of it.
It's almost gone. Let's do another cheers.
Okay.
So this is a like a good cheers and like kind of a sad cheers. We want to cheers Chris Mortensen, who passed away last week. I think all of us grew up watching him when he talked on NFL Countdown or NFL Live. You always listened. It was always great information, and he was usually always right on. And then when you listen to people talk about him, just seems like just a great human being. So cheers, Mort.
To the sports community, but here's to you, man.
What are we sipping on there? Charlie Rossi.
Yo, that's okay. So this.
Which one is
Go
that?
ahead and show this one off. This is Pliny.
I like that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. It's a very sought after beer. It's really just a straightforward IPA, basically.
So it is the
The flavor. It's too pale to be just a regular pale ale. That's an IPA. That's hopped out of its mind for sure. That's why it drinks at 8%. Technically, you could call it an imperial, even though they triple hop it and they call it Pliny the Younger, and that fucker drinks at like 12.7, and motherfuckers wait in line half a day to get those bottles. They are super sought after. So Russian Rivers and Santa Rosa, we've been on a kick of Russian River. I think this is the 3rd or 4th.
Team on.
This is the third.
Okay.
4th coming up.
I was gonna say, and we are queuing up for a 4th one.
Team on killing it on the
In
Russian.
our flight clubs, we've turned every pod into a flight club. We like drinking more selections, I guess, and I love that. So I'm all for that. Both beers drink. Oh, sorry, Papas. Both beers drink wonderfully. Very hoppy on the Pliny. I forgot how hoppy it really was. To be fair, now maybe that's just because we were drinking a lager right before.
Do you think that has anything to do with that?
1000%. Maybe this should be our beer question of the day. Is on a flight, if you have 2 to 4 beers all at the same time, you really do have to find the balance of when you can drink or how long you have to take in between each sips, because you don't want to taint one beer with the other. You don't want to sour right after a stout, or like you don't want to hit a porter after you just had a blonde necessarily.
So when you do a flight, like say you go to a brewery, right?
Sure.
You do a flight. Do you finish? You get like 5, right? Do you finish
do
each
one
one
at
at
a
a
time?
time, or do you sip on all 5?
Dude, I want all 5. The reason why I get a flight is because I want to try all 5, and I don't want to like sit through just one of them. But sometimes I'll show patience and I'll just do the one at a time because I don't want to ruin the flavor of the other samples.
I don't wait in between, but I definitely fucking I drink one.
No, I know you
But I
all.
know.
There's not a shot in hell you're blending. I know you all too well. You don't like food that touches. You don't like cheese on nachos because it gets your chips soggy.
I don't mind food that touches, but I definitely don't fucking like I don't like nachos because sogginess. But no, definitely drink one at a time. Because my spectrum's usually kind of like blonde to stout, so I
Sure.
kind of hit like the whole.
Lights to darks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's traditionally how white is put in front of you. And I usually do like you and just drink the one just to get to not mess with that flavor profile, unless there's like something comparable also I got on that flight and I just want to chase the difference between the two.
Like if you go 2 IPAs or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I'm not doing like all of them at once though. No way.
Speaking of which, to this IPA, this Pliny is very dank.
Yes.
It is. It's very earthy, and I love that. Like, it's next level hops, right? Like, it's obviously hops, but like it's this real fresh. Like, I like that. I like that a lot.
4 or 5 of your Fremont Dark Stars last night.
I'm killing it, bro. I think those are good. What you did that many? Aren't those
Yeah,
eighters?
they're
Aren't those eighters?
They're 8. I had 4
Oh,
or 5.
I'm knocking them back.
Hey,
Well, yeah, because I brought a
Slower.
sixer. I think I brought a sixer, and I think I was the only one drinking
And I
it.
don't
So.
think. Yeah, I gotta have to look in the fridge when I get home.
Yeah.
See if I left one, but I don't think
That was a
so.
good shout out. Hey, those are from that's up in Seattle.
we have-
I should stop by the fucking brewery when I go up there next month.
We had one.
There's a lot
We had
of
one.
breweries.
We had one
There's
on
lots
pod.
of breweries
So
up there. Yeah.
we had one of the Fremont. We had that beer on pod, the Dark
Yeah,
Star.
yeah, we did, and we had the Sky Kraken, which
Yeah,
is really
the
fucking
Sky
good.
Kraken was delicious.
Yeah. They've made some good beers. They've come out of nowhere from. I mean, it's not what as Urban Roots has done to me. Like
Dude,
they have made an ascension in my beer.
we can do an Urban Roots fucking flight.
Yeah, and we're going down to the brewery. I'm manifesting this, you guys. We are like a week away from fucking daylight savings, so we'll start getting longer days and shit. We can trip down to to Northern Cali.
West Coast is the best coast
It
for
is,
the
dude.
beer, man.
For everything, for period. We're better
And
than
sports because of our TV schedule.
We get sports earlier than you. We make better fucking beer than you. We smoke better weed than you.
Yeah, better sandwiches than you.
Here,
All right, let's
No.
jump into the NBA. It seems like we had a lot of injuries this week, boys.
Ooh, yeah.
coming down the stretch.
Russell Westbrook breaks his hand. He has to have surgery. In the article, though, it said he broke his hand last year, or when he was with the Thunder, and only missed 14 games. So maybe still be able to come back for the playoffs.
Okay.
And I think that he's kind of a big piece coming off the bench for the paper clips.
Sure.
Right? Don't you guys think?
Yeah, no, he's been great off the bench for them. He really gets that second team really going. Like that,
Just his
he's-
energy and stuff.
Yeah, that energy is important, and he brings it.
I was a long time shitlister for Russell Westbrook, but I have to say, over the last couple of years, he has really toned back his ego, learned a different part of the game. Yeah, and he's become a really meaningful, I can't shit on Russell Westbrook at this point. It sucks that he broke his hand. He was really helping that team out. And I want to see, I don't have any allegiance to LA, so I wanted to see the Clippers maybe make some noise because it's just a cool story for those who are, on the outside looking in, I suppose. Because the Lakers have 19 or 20 banners or some shit. They have you have 30 some odd percent of the banners of all time.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Let's move on to. Can you believe this injury?
No.
Ben Simmons is done with back issues, so he's got some impingement. He's only played 12 games this year. Chuck, what did you say earlier?
About him?
Yeah, you said what? He should just retire.
He should. I mean, I'm sorry, kid. I know he's even just a kid because what's he 28?
Something like
27,
that.
28?
Dude, he just never wanted it.
Even when he was young and healthy, he never developed his game for the NBA. He's got a great body. He's got, great defensive skills. How do you not know how to shoot in today's game?
Yeah, he just
can't make a free throw, and even his interior game wasn't that great. And he was soft, so he didn't rebound. You're taking things away. If you want to be in the NBA and you don't necessarily want to be an all-star, if you don't want to be a killer, then you have to be perfect in one aspect of the game, right? If you're a defensive guy, that's what you bring. If you're a three guy, that's what you bring. If you're an assist guy, that's what you bring. He brought nothing to the level of justifying playing him serious minutes, which is crazy because he was the first overall pick.
Yeah, and he was that high of a pick because he had that chance to definitely carve out a role in the NBA, but now with the back injuries, like I think it's done for him. It's too much. Those injuries are gonna handicap him even more than he's been.
I mean, how many games has he played in the last 4 seasons? Like
Not many.
60?
If that, I doubt it.
Probably not.
I mean, yeah, you can't even say when he's on the court, 60 games in 4 years, and we're saying under. If we were betting men,
If I had a guess, I would totally take the under in that. Because you got to think he didn't play the 1 year
right
at all.
at all. I mean, he came back for like basically, yeah, correct.
I would say, dude, I don't even know. Maybe he gets a 40 fucking games.
So Simmons, I'm sorry, dude. Just kind of take your losses as they were. Get your body right. Retire while you're still you can still rehab this back to 100%, right? But clearly, you're not cut out for competitive basketball anymore. You've made enough money. He got some contracts. He got that second deal, right? It's not like he's a broke. He's played enough to get the money or whatever. Retire, get your body right.
Remember he made a couple All-Star teams.
Yeah, and cool because he got that second deal. He's been around for like 6 years. So
he was on the defensive. He got he was on the defensive player list and stuff.
Sure.
He had some good hit when he first came up.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though. So like in that sense, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I mean, this is easy for me to say sitting here talking about it, and it's probably not as easy for you to give up something that you love because clearly that's there in some capacity. Like, but look at the big picture, bro. What's the next one?
It's not a good one. Carl Anthony Towns, cat. Torn meniscus. There's no way he's come back.
He's already opted into surgery. So
yeah, I saw some report that said maybe. There's no way he's done. It's done. And then is that done for the Timberwolves? I know maybe let's kind of AE kind of get going. Ant, and we're all three of us are pretty good Ant guys.
I would say yes because the West is fucking brutal.
Yep.
Like they're gonna get into the playoffs obviously, and they're gonna get the home court. They're pacing it to where if they win 2 out of the next 3 games until the end of the season, they're totally fine. Even 1 out of the next 3 games, kind of thing. Like, but they're gonna get into a series with a team that's not necessarily better than, but deeper, and they could run into trouble.
Yeah, it could be a matchup problem.
I think they fall to 3 now, right?
Definitely. And I mean, I expect
the Nuggets climbing, and obviously the Thunder probably taking the 1 seed with SGA healthy.
I think Ant puts on a performance.
Please don't. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't mind you loving on SGA. That's totally fine.
He just doesn't like when I do that.
I don't.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like I don't think any of us picked them getting past the first round, but I think now they are kind of a first round and done without him.
Could be, yeah.
Him averaging like 24 game, 8 rebounds, and even some assists. I just don't know if they can make that up in any kind of way. Gobert is more of a defensive guy, getting the rebounds and stuff like that. Offensively, where do they get that other 26 points?
Well, and just
Ant will shoot it all.
The big body, man. You're losing just true definitive size. Carl Anthony Towns is 7 foot, right? Like or 6'11". He's like
he's 7 foot.
7 foot. Yeah, he's a big boy. Like, and he plays a stretch. Like he's not. Yeah, Gobert is not doing what Towns does on a nightly basis at all. Not even close. Like Gobert is one of the junkiest looking players. He doesn't know. It looks like he doesn't know how to move on a basketball court sometimes. Man, he looks so awkward. I don't know. It's weird because guys like Wemby, who I know you've really been on the ascension of, he's got a very similar body frame. He's a little bit more slender, but the way he moves looks so much more cohesive on a basketball court.
I watched again, and he is just impressive to watch play. I just hope that team can figure something out because they weren't good last year, and they ain't good this year, and I don't know if they're going to be good next year. They need help down there bad, but yeah, I hope we're not missing something here because they're so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the longer play for that team build for the Spurs, but for Cat, like, this is the team I thought maybe could challenge the Nuggets in the West because of the size. And
sure, that's what I'm saying. Now you can maybe find the points. You can't find that size. You can't find a guy who can guard Jokic. You can't find like a guy who can guard Nurkic. Yusuf Nurkic is having a good year in Phoenix.
He is.
Yeah. So I mean,
he is. He had like 35 rebounds the other day.
It's the big man, dude. It's crazy though because it's not the traditional Shaq back to the cup kind of big man. It's the stretch 4-5-ish big man who can run the floor, who can dish. It's amazing. It is the athleticism of these big guys is just next level.
You guys watched that Celtics Nuggets game the other night?
I did.
Dude, if Joker catches the ball at the free throw line, you might as well just give the Nuggets points. Whether he's getting them or whether he's making the dish to somebody else.
That's my favorite one. I like it when it's an instant. When it's like a touch pass.
Dude, he just catches
like a soccer pass.
He just catches. Yeah. He like hits his hand and it's boom behind him.
Court awareness. His court awareness is just amazing. It's so fun to watch. Like
he's a classic old school point guard.
Basically, yeah. No, I mean, with the body of a fucking, goddamn NBA center.
Let's get through this NBA before we do anything else. Let's Luka. So we got 2 records to talk about set this week. Dude, Luka set an NBA record, 4 straight 35-point triple doubles, boys.
That's nuts, man. Luka's been lighting it up. If he can get that defense going,
he's not, but he can't. He's never going to play defense. So is that?
Is he never?
Yes. He's never going to be a defender, dude. He's always just going to be this. Light him up, put up. He's in a score.
That's his game.
Anybody. 35 points. The triple double means he's also doing other things. Correct. So rebounds and assists.
Yes, he's a big guy. He's like 6'8".
Fucking doughboy.
And then
he's another one that I hate watching out there. It bothers me aesthetically. I'm sorry. Luka Doncic is a great basketball player.
He complains too much for me.
Oh my god, he's a moaner. He's a moaner. Yeah, if he didn't put up great stats, he'd be out of the league so quick.
And then the last stat for the NBA that I got is Grayson Allen started 2 games. He started off 2 consecutive games by hitting 8 straight threes in each of those games. He missed number 9. But still, dude, that's the first time that's ever been done as well. So 2 first times ever in the last week. So I think that's a pretty good NBA talk. Yeah,
I got 2 quick ones on NBA real quick. Curry had an MRI on his ankle.
Is it all good?
It's just a sprain. So it looked worse than it was. So it's just a wait and see.
Dude, it did not look good when he underneath the basket. It rolled over like that.
Okay. It could have been. Came back negative.
Yeah. So that's good news for the Warriors. And then the last thing I just wanted to touch on real quick. Shout out to D'Lo. No LeBron, 44 points and a 1-point win over the Bucks.
Dude, since we didn't trade him, he's been averaging 20.
Before going in that game, so take that number away.
Okay.
He was averaging going into the Bucks game since trade talks happened 20-something points and 8 assists.
Nice.
So he's been having good stat lines. So he's been playing alive. And my thing with him is almost kind of like the quarterback that doesn't play in the system. It almost felt like D'Lo didn't play in the offense. You know what I'm saying?
Now he's figured it out. Now he's kind of meshing.
Yes, it seems since the trade
deadline. I'm not a big fan of the Lakers.
So that leads me to a question about him, like how he's coaching. Like Anthony Davis doesn't seem like he's shooting enough.
Anthony Davis has had some
good games. Seems like he's doing enough ever.
He had 12. He had in the first, because you're talking about the game last night. He had 12 in the first quarter.
And then just.
So and I think that maybe D'Lo got hot or they started collapsing on AD is what.
But it's been a trend though, not just last game.
And I have been. AD's played a lot this year.
Yeah, that's true.
So
he's played 5 more games this year than he did all of last year.
Correct.
But I don't think they run the offense through him enough. It seems like he should get that as well.
I think that last night they started collapsing, and with the Bucks size with Portis and Kupo and Lopez, because you got all 3 of those dudes you can throw.
So we're coming down to the last 20 games, y'all. Like it's really taking shape.
Are we under 20?
I believe so. I believe it's like 19 so we're on the home stretch. So
we got a couple MLB little notes before we get going on anything else. Zach Wheeler got a huge contract from the Phillies. They locked him up for another 3 years. 3 years at 126, boys. So Phillies locking up Zach for that. He's their ace. It's a good signing in my book.
Heck yeah. I mean, for that, if you're talking like a bona fide 15 to 20 game winner.
I think he is, for sure, every year. And they locked Nola up, too. So they're locked up pitching-wise. And then, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Justin Verlander starting out the year on the IL. So he won't start for the
Astros quite yet. And then that saves the Mets money. So if he doesn't go for like 160 innings, it saves the Mets like $27 million or something. Dude, yeah.
Contract has worked out.
Some way the contract worked out, man. So
that's great.
They're probably going, yes.
Sit him.
Stay on that IL. T-Money, I know you got a couple as well, brother.
Well, I mean, I was just going to touch on the Reds. Marte got suspended to 8 games for PEDs.
Come on,
test.
bro. Come on.
Oh, I accidentally took something. Was that the excuse? Something was in my
Bad
milkshake.
turkey. Something was in the turkey. Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing I was going to have you actually, I think,
Ate a
maybe
poison
spell
burrito.
pound a little bit more, was just bets at the shortstop for the Dodgers.
Yeah, so he came up as a second baseman.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then they moved him to outfield. He's massively athletic. When we talk MVP,
he's a baseball player, dude.
When we talk MVP, he'll probably be on my list of guys to look for this year. He had a great year last year and just got barely beat out by Acuna. Dude, Acuna had a scary injury too. Did you guys see that? He's
No, I
going to
did
be able
not.
to start.
Really?
He had his knee looked at.
Like orthoscopic needs to get cleaned up.
He's all good.
Yeah.
He might be on opening day roster, but it was a little nerve wracking there because you don't want to see we want to see greatness bleed great. So
Absolutely.
and Kuna is fucking so fun to watch.
He's probably like the NFL, or not the NFL, the MLB needs to lean into him. You know what I mean? Like he could be a big star if they promote him the way that. But the MLB's terrible at promotion.
Terrible.
Oh, absolutely terrible. Like they have wasted Mike Trout's career, and Shohei, being who he is, they are wasting his career as well. Like as far as their opportunity to capitalize on, bringing in new fans.
Yeah, but for sure, dude, Acuna is so sick, stealing
He's a
bags,
beast.
hitting bombs, catching balls in the
He's a
outfield, throwing dudes
beast.
out. He does everything.
Everything. A baseball player.
And then let's throw it to the Trev for a little NHL news.
Dude, the trade deadline just happened, money.
Yeah, 33 trades done before the deadline. That's
On the
pretty
day
crazy.
of, we don't even have time to list all of them.
But the notable one that we'll touch on with the Golden Knights fan here is the Sharks traded Thomas Hertel to the Golden Knights.
Dude, it's so nice to have a team that actually fucking does something.
The rich get richer.
Yeah, and I mean they traded away a prospect, so this is definitely for now.
We had somebody go down on the injured though, so we've been kind of hurt. We started out hot, got hurt, so hopefully this can take us in and we can make another run again. But dude, it's nice having a team, unlike my fucking shitty ass A's, a team that goes and actually does some good shit in the off season.
Well, the juice is there in Vegas, man. It's a brand new franchise. They just won the Stanley Cup. They'd been to one, and then they won one. Yeah, no, the juice is there.
Every year since they've been, what's the word? Not inoculated, but like essentially
Inaugural.
Since their inaugural season. So that's pretty hot. Let's get in some other hot
Man,
news.
this time of the season is hot.
It is. So free agency is
Goddamn.
coming up on the 13th, so Wednesday. So keep your eye out. Which, oh fuck, guys, I am so nervous about this shit. I don't even know how to explain how nervous I am about this free agents market. But we had franchise tagging that just happened.
All right, let's go through those first.
Give me 1 sec, Charlie. I lost it.
We're pulling them up.
Yeah,
Research is happening now.
Yeah, I accidentally backed out of it.
Our producers backed out. It's
But
okay.
the franchise tag happened, so you can do an exclusive franchise tag where nobody can match and you pay them a bigger amount, or you can do the other one where teams can trade for you or try to
non-exclusive.
non-exclusive. So we'll start here with Ravens. They did franchise tag Justin Matabuki.
But they just agreed to that new 4-year, $98 million deal.
Chuck, I fucked it up. What is
Matabuke.
it? Matabuke.
He was close. He was close. He gave it a shot, and I appreciate that.
He's a stud, and then locked up that defensive line really for them.
Well, and that's, they're predicated on defense. Even though Lamar's been winning the MVPs, the bloodline in Baltimore will always be that defense.
Then the next team that franchise tagged was Brian Burns, and they have not signed him yet. So he is still.
I don't think they're gonna, dude.
I don't either. Why would I was wondering if they were gonna let him test it.
I understand the franchise tag, but I guarantee you they're trying to work out a trade, because why would you invest that much into a guy that isn't like that's you're not just him away.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to touch on this because teams were offering, I believe,
The
a couple
Rams,
years
the
ago,
Rams,
2
yep.
first-round
Correct.
picks for this guy.
That is correct.
And they passed it by. I understand
That's
you want
nuts,
to build
though.
around your talent. Burns is a great piece, but because of what happened last season with you trading up to get that number 1 pick and not having a first-round pick this year, it just makes so much sense team building wise to move on from your assets. Because you need to, it's a rebuild. It's not just a couple pieces away from really competing.
Yeah, that roster is not good.
Yeah, so at this point, you just got to do the overhaul. And it hurts, but you got to do it. It'll be better.
Well,
in the
yeah,
long
because
run.
what are you committing to? I mean, what's
What
the
you got those 2 wins last
That's what I'm
year
saying.
for
What's the-
having him on the team?
What's the point in having one really good fucking player? Like, that's it.
You know, that could be a draft day trade. You know,
Sure,
trade Brian Burns
sure.
to get
For,
like another
to
pick.
spike up the draft.
Another
to go,
pick
yeah.
or something.
No, you're right. That has
Um,
absolutely happened. That was the A.J. Brown
Yep.
for the number 16 pick for Treylon Burks, which was dumb.
That was stupid.
Obviously, Tennessee. Jesus.
Next person that got tagged and then signed, Jalen Johnson. I was hoping
Smart.
he was
No, but
going
that
to
was-
make it, but he did not.
Nah,
4
that-
years, 76.
It's because he's still young.
Yep.
That's when you need to capitalize on that.
And that's good team building by the Bears.
Agreed.
I mean, they
What-
got a guy at the linebacker position, and in the secondary
Eberflus-
now.
if
They're all
Eberflus-
full players.
If
Yep.
Eberflus fucks this up again, this roster is coming the fuck together, and you have the 1 and the 9. Oh my God, Chicago is like, don't. Well, I mean, okay, you're in the NFC, so suck a little bit, but like, you have an opportunity.
You
They
should
have
be able to
such
reset
a
your
hell
whole
of an
entire
opportunity
franchise.
this offseason.
They
1,000%.
could be the
Like,
Texans this season.
oh,
You can-
dude,
you
I think
can-
they could surpass what the Texans did.
You
last
can
year.
either get one of the people are talking maybe generational talent quarterback, and then if the chips fall right, you can get a receiver.
Easy.
And
Easy.
I think
At 9?
and
Absolutely.
well, I'm talking one of the
Loaded.
3. One, you can get maybe you're obviously, but you want one of the 3.
I would say the swing would be if May still stays at the top of the board, right? Because if he falls, then they're gonna start,
Yep.
taking
And you
the other
maybe,
positions.
and you depending on like Chuck said, somebody falls, you could trade out of 9, move back, and still get like a Brian Thomas, one of the kids from Texas.
No,
so
that's
so-
not good enough. Why would you do that when you're at 9? That when you're potentially going to get Neighbors, or an Odunze might be there at 9.
Well, I'm saying if you get to pick, I mean, somebody could give you a load to get to 9 if one of those quarterbacks falls or somebody moving up.
Okay, right.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. That is the phenomenon. That is the phenomenon. That is the draft. It's. Last year we were super surprised by some of the first round moves, right? Like, oh my God, it's going to be so good.
The next tagging was T. Higgins.
Makes
He
sense.
gets tagged.
But they're not going to throw him a contract, though. They're going to trade him. They only tagged him.
so?
Oh, absolutely. They're not going to be able to carry him and Chase at WR1 money. WR1 money is now $30 million. That's $60 million between 2 fucking receivers, dude. There's no way.
So
You
it's a
can't
sign
build
and
a
trade.
team. Yeah, it has
Sign
to
and
be.
trade.
Because you need whatever you can get out of him. Even at this point now, if it's a second, he's a talent too. People will want his services.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot of teams that
at
would
least
be
there's some
fine.
leverage there. At least the Bengals, like, they didn't tag just. This isn't desperation in the sense that, like, T. Higgins is a very good wide receiver. So, but yes, this is a clear move of trying to get what they can out of a guy that they can't pay. So the rest of the league will also, if I'm thinking that way, the rest of the league is obviously thinking that way too. So I mean, the haggle has to happen, but he won't be a Bengal. I promise you that.
Next person that was tagged, also another wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. He is an outstanding number 2 receiver. He is a low end 1 receiver, but I think he is an outstanding.
He really broke out last year, man. He really made his bid for WR1. Well, at least in that city. I mean, that's not to say he's going to go anywhere else and do it. But
He would be sick paired with somebody, but he is sick with Pierce and those guys. They just need something else.
Well, the just quarterback position isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, Richardson hopefully is healthy this year and see what he can do. Next person that got tagged, which I was hoping. Well, actually, hold on. One person before. Josh Allen, linebacker. Jacksonville Jaguars. He has been under the radar, sneaky good since he's come into the league.
That's one of those. Okay, just touching on the Brian Burns thing. I'm very on the fence of both. You could, because you could still make the push with the roster that
Correct.
you have around him.
I
right?
think it's good that
They're
tagged
not
him.
super far removed from being able to make a push, if not right there. So I could understand them paint, but if they could also get a haul for him too, you could go both ways with this one.
I think I lean more towards the other side on that. Just with Jacksonville, I think they're just a lot more in contention for that division.
1,000%.
So you don't have to move off of your good players right now.
So you're
wanna
paying
just trying to. I think so.
I think I'm going to pay him. I like Josh Allen.
I'm not saying I don't, but I mean, I would
Yeah.
kind of fish him around the market just to see. But he's young, though. That's another one. This is his real first.
Yeah,
you know,
you know.
he was the first rounder, and this is the So
You know, he got taken number 5. You know who got taken behind?
Cleveland Farrell, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
by the
so,
Raiders. I remember
next-
I remember that draft. Don't test me, son.
Next person on the tag is L'Jarius Sneed. I was hoping he was going to make the free agency. He did not. He's tagged. They're looking to trade him as well. They're going to get, if they trade him, they're getting a 1 for him too. He's a stud. He's a lockdown corner. He's made a really good name for himself since he's come in the league as well.
You don't think they would try to pay him?
I saw something, well, because the Chris Jones contract
That's
is
He's
what's
going to
holding
eat
him.
up some fucking money.
Unless the Raiders sign Chris Jones and then they,
Oh my God. All
Okay,
right.
next person that gets tagged, New England Patriots, Kyle Duggar.
I didn't know that many franchise tags got thrown out. I thought there wasn't that many.
There wasn't, and then the last one. Well, so this is one safety.
Wait,
gonna talk-
so Duggar to the Patriots is what you just
Yep.
said. Let's not undersell that in a sense.
No,
that,
he's a good safety. We're going to talk about safeties here
Yeah,
in
I
a
was going to
sec.
say that cues into something bigger.
Well, we got
better.
one more.
Let's go.
Last
one.
tag is another safety, All-Pro Antonio Winfield Jr.
Yeah,
He's a
well, that
stud
one
for
makes
the
sense.
Tampa
Yeah,
Bay.
that one makes sense. He's all pro, like you said. He's cream of the crop. So, but let's cue into what is going on.
Let's look
One
at
finger.
every player. If you look at, go ahead, Trev.
I was just gonna say, just to throw it in before we get into the next bunch of talk, is just that the Broncos trade that just happened with Judy
Oh,
to
yes.
the Browns. For
Ooh, all right, little
56 round pick.
This is breaking news. This
Yes.
happened about a half an hour ago.
Yeah.
That gives the Browns.
Jerry Jeudy to the Browns for a 5th and a 6th rounder from.
That's all it cost.
That's crazy.
But I also get what Denver's doing too. That
Yeah.
does make a shitload of sense.
Yep.
It's similar to like Carolina. If they would have moved off of him earlier, they probably could have got more value. But they're at a point now.
He's
where
been
it's-
talked about now
it's
for
just
2.5
gotta make
years,
the move.
basically.
They should have traded him last year.
Yeah.
They would have gotten a 2. They would at least
a 3.
At least no, I think even a 2 was kind of because his upswing was still there. Like the 5th and the 6th is, wow. That's. I mean, it depends.
Sure.
It depends on what the Broncos. Sometimes 5th rounders sometimes are amazing. Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman were 5th round picks.
Hey.
But if you look at the positions that we all talked about, it is receivers and edges and D line.
Right.
Couple corners. There are 2 safeties. There was no running backs. And if you look at all the positions that got released this last week, a ton of safeties got
Oh
released.
my god, dude! That safety list is so
The
ridiculous.
safeties are the defensive running back now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we talked earlier off pod. Do you guys see, and Trev's going to go over some of these names here in a second, do you guys see any of these guys touching that $10, $12 million mark? Or are we going to touch, are we
For
going
the
to have,
for the RBs?
for the RBs,
Okay.
do we get a $10, $12 million running back this offseason? Or is everything like under 10? Trev's going to go over these numbers, and there's 4 of them that,
I mean, yes, for both running backs and safeties, seems like the devalued position on each side of the ball, where you have these names that normally you wouldn't see as free agents. Obvious on the running back side.
Or free agents at this time of the year, right? You hold them right until the last little bit, and then you let them go, kind of thing. Versus like they let. But continue. I'm sorry.
yeah, a lot of them were released.
Yeah.
Easy releases. Phew.
So, these are, most of them, for the most part, are just every down players, too, like Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler.
All of the guys, listen to those names. all of those guys were threatening last year. Josh Jacobs did hold out. Eckler renegotiated and got like $1 more million in incentives that he didn't hit. Like
Same with Barkley.
yeah, exactly. Yes, he did it for like 500,000 more.
Something
Barkley
like that.
fell off. Yeah, like not that. Okay, he didn't fall off statistically in relation to a decent running back, but like.
It wasn't the same.
And
as
then
last year.
Henry didn't do. He did some Henry things, but not all the Henry things. And I just, man, that's it. It's shifting. The game is shifting. It has been away from the running, unless you're Christian McCaffrey.
But yeah, these are close to premium players at what's going to
As
be
of
a
like
discount
2 years
rate.
ago, right? 1 to 2 years ago for these guys. We're not talking 5-6 years ago and like the hope of maybe they can find something. No, we're talking within last 2 seasons. These guys are Pro Bowlers, all pros, difference makers.
Tony Pollard's on that list.
Yeah, there's
Super
other-
underwhelming year in Dallas this year. Golly.
He
Called
definitely needed.
You
like,
did.
second
I was. That's where I
half.
was wrong. Yeah, I was wrong. You were right.
And then on the safety side, I mean,
Justin Simmons released. Jamal Adams released. Quandre Diggs released. Geno Stone released. Like we're talking, just safety after
Xavier
safety.
McKinney.
Xavier
Yeah.
McKinney. You want to get into all the Bills cuts? Micah Hyde,
Poyer.
Poyer.
Yeah.
Like the Bills just did a cap.
Tre'Davious White, hopefully.
Tre'Davious, which is
Casualties.
not a safety, but a good secondary. Yeah, they tore their secondary down in
They
3
were-
moves.
Well,
Sign
they-
me a corner, Raiders.
They came into, I think, the offseason at $40 million over the cap. So
Yep.
these are all just the casualties of that defense for the most part. They did lose their Pro Bowl center too.
That's
Mitch
right.
Morse.
That's
I heard
right.
He was visiting with Pittsburgh today.
Yep.
Come
So,
to Seattle.
man,
Center. Come to Seattle.
Some good players lost from Buffalo that they're going to have to replace with some younger, less expensive players.
Yeah, and they're still, like we said, Chris Jones is still out there. There are some still really good players. It all starts with Kirk Cousins, though, on
Chris Jones will
Wednesday.
remain a Chief.
We'll see. But I think when Wednesday hits, if once Kurt signs, we'll kind of get the landscape of how everything else starts to fall.
It's so interesting. The pre-draft is great. It's the craziest scramble in the NFL season because if you're going to move draft picks, it's got to happen now because you want it for this draft. You're not moving draft picks for next season.
No.
So it's all about this draft, meaning like
We should
what player and what pick is going to move because there's going to be in the next 6 weeks it's going to be insane.
And that will really straighten out a lot of draft boards. I did a mock
1000%.
but 1.0. But once you sign people, if you
I
sign
think-
tackle or you sign a linebacker,
Mocks at this time exactly are just more an idea of what your team needs to kind of build, right?
and kind of where players are looking to fall, I guess, too. Like, hey, look at this guy's kind of like a top player.
except for these Sims are so fucking bad. Some of them
Some
are
are.
terrible.
Well,
dude.
it's just not some of the Sims, dude. There's some
they're
fucking
not believable. I saw Drake May went first overall for a couple of ones that I did, and now he's being talked about a second rounder.
Well, I don't know about
I'm not.
that
I'm
part.
just saying.
But there's even some of these other people, like somebody had JJ going third overall.
Stupid.
Just regular
Not-
people
well, I mean-
having this stuff like that. And I don't know if you're just trying to get clicks.
It is.
But even, I once free agency hits, draft boards will really start to clean themselves up. I mean, there's only 2 quarterbacks really, so that will tell you who needs a quarterback in the draft.
So over the next few weeks, what we're going to do here is we're going to break down divisions here. So next segment, we're going to peel into the East, as we always like to start with the East, I suppose, when we do our lists.
I think
So-
it's because they put them at the top when you open up an app.
Easiest
It's
to
usually
find, I
East is
suppose.
First and then North.
Yeah, so
and South.
we'll do East this week. We'll do probably the South next week.
We'll do North next week.
North next week, okay,
And then South,
and then our
the
West.
Best of the
Yeah.
West.
So exactly. So watch out for the next month. We're going to be breaking down divisions and free agency and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be back with some fresh beers.
A lot of draft talk and players will be get thrown out because we'll segue way the fuck out of here.
There's going to be a lot of sidebars in these next segments.
A couple other notable names that might, dictate what way teams are looking to, just to throw them out there. I mean, Calvin Ridley is going to be available with them
Russell
putting the tag
Wilson.
on Allen. You got Marquez Brown, Mike Williams from the Chargers, Tyler Lockett probably be a cap casualty of Seattle. Noah Fant, I believe, is a free agent as well.
Disley got released.
Yeah.
Hunter Renfro will probably get released as a cap casualty to give us more room to sign Chris Jones.
I do have a little note on my fandom, and I'll shoehorn this in, that the Hawks pushed to $41 million. We freed up $41 million over our cuts. It was only like 5 people. So, I mean, really, we made some needed moves. I like the names. All of the names that I would read that we cut were, outside of Jamal was easy. That one, I don't think any Seahawk fan or even the front office was probably like, finally, like, golly, especially with a new regime coming in.
I was hoping he was going to stay.
Yeah, everybody who wasn't a Seahawk fan pretty much was. Why wouldn't we want to hamstring ourselves to a $23 million safety as the market just opened wide the fuck up, dude? Now all of those guys are going to be negotiating underwhelming contracts at different teams.
Dude, do we
For
seriously, do we see a running back get to that $10 million? Dude, I am very curious about this.
No, at this point, I don't think any one of them, because they all bitched and moaned last year and didn't put up. These are all the same guys. There's no way they're going to say, dude, obviously your value is like 7.5, $8 million, which is insane.
In the running back draft, there's no Bijan, there's no Gibbs.
That's true too.
There's no A-Chain. This is a very underwhelming running back class as well. Yeah, there's no Zach Charbonnet either. I would say that every person that was taken in the first 3 rounds last year is better than probably most of the running backs coming out this year.
And with these free agents available, that's really going to decide how late the running backs go in the draft.
Correct. I don't know. These free agents might not get signed until after the draft too. Whether running backs fall to you too.
It's 100%. They will not. Yeah. At this point, because nobody's in a rush to throw out that money.
Right. You can take a fucking runner at a 5th rounder, dude.
Right. So
you can get Isaiah Pacheco in the fucking 7th round.
It's crazy to think that, teams aren't looking at the roster saying, "Fuck, we need to get a running back."
Never, ever.
I mean,
or
although
safety.
we drafted Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet in back-to-back drafts
But
in the second round.
I would still say that there's
One
Kenny
was
Walker
the Doak Walker winner, though, and he's a
Yeah.
fucking difference maker. And he's only 24.
And the kid from Iowa State that's now with the Jets, I lost his name.
Brees Hall?
Yeah,
Bryce
there's
Hall?
no Bryce Hall either. I mean,
That's Brees Hall,
It's
because
Brees.
Bryce Hall is the cornerback
it's
that they
Brees.
had. Brees Hall,
So there's no him in this draft either. This draft is very
dry up.
very
Well,
underwhelming.
at least at the top of. Well, it's just because there's so many wide receivers and quarterbacks and tackles.
Dude,
There's other offensive talent.
The wide
everywhere.
receiver and the offensive line fucking talent is
Everywhere.
Deeper than it's
stellar.
And the D line, if you get into the interior line, is showing up. I've seen a lot of good interior guys move up the board.
The kid from Florida State is a huge. If I could
Verse.
get him in the second round, Brandon
Fisk.
Fisk.
The other one.
Okay.
From Florida State.
Because Verse is going to go
Verse
he's
is
going to go
gonna-
top 10-ish.
I had him
top
go,
15-ish.
I had him going to the Vikings, but that's because I had figured the Vikings would sign Kurt. If the Vikings don't sign Kurt, they're probably taking quarterback. But dude, your draft is fucking loaded. Offensive line. The receivers are
nuts.
You're gonna get starters in the second round. There are
Of course.
There are kids in the second round at receiver that are
Everywhere.
gonna fucking light it up.
All right, well, let's go get some more beer, gentlemen.
I just want to keep talking draft. We'll see you in the next segment. Bye. Welcome back to Balls and Brews. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
I'm excited for the next 2 brewskis, everybody. They're
Look
gonna
at
be
the color
fucking
on this
delicious.
bad boy. Ooh.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's one of those ones where you're not like all haze or you're not all hop. It's very down the middle. I really like how you get very juice at front.
It's a really good beer.
And get some of that hop there in the middle, and then it almost comes back with some juice at the end.
Mind Circus by our boys once again at Russian River.
Thanks, T-Mon.
Yep, of course.
7% Santa Rosa, California.
That's a nice IPA drink.
Dude, it's wonderful.
At 7%, that's kind of like that's a nice alcohol percentage.
It's so balanced. Like it gets both the haze and the fruit, like that juice, the dank. Gets it right. Shout out Russian.
Dude, it is. It's both Russian beers have killed it. I like this obviously a little bit more than I like the other one, but Yeah, both of them really good. I do love how it does have the fruit at the front side, and then it
Oh
kind
my
of goes.
god, that mouth feels fantastic.
I had a feeling this was going to be the favorite of the Russian River that
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
for us.
We've all really been on the hazy kick. When the hazies are done right, they're
I'm
a
always-
wonderful
I'm always gonna be on the hazy kick.
hazy kick.
So let's jump into a little talk before. Do we want to cheers on the next one right now, or do we want to jump into a little talk and then a little cheers? A little talk, cheers, cheers, talk?
I want to sip on these separately, so I say we finish it because it's going to be very jarring
Yeah.
to go from a hazy IPA
This is
to
one
a
of those
pear cider.
Perfect.
Lights where you sit there.
Yes.
All right, so let's jump right into it then. We're going to start with the AFC East. We're going to run through 14, give you overwhelming, underwhelming, or right down the middle, and then we'll break each kind of team down, what we think they need, and kind of some of the losses or gains that they've already had. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. Chuck.
Well, okay. So the Bills were unfortunate. They were underwhelming. They pushed at the end of the season and then fell flat right where they had the opportunity to get over the hump. So it's under, right? They were underwhelming overall. Their narrative was supposed to be Super Bowl, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Injuries kind of hurt them early on, and they really, I think, play better as an offense with Brady as the coordinator. So that is
Great.
a move in the right direction. But now with how they've gutted this team, it's a work. We're gonna have to wait and see.
I go with underwhelming as well, and we'll dig into it more when I give the update. But
Three underwhelming Buffalo. Yeah, you got a lot coming to you in this segment.
Miami Dolphins.
At expectations, maybe a little underwhelming.
I'm gonna go with at because I had them lower. I'm glad Tua stayed healthy. I think that they are a fair weather football team, and they won't be able to win the big games because you got to be able to win the big games in the cold. But I think they were fair this year. I think they're right down the middle.
I also give them fair just because of the Tua injury concerns going into the season and having him be able to play all those games. That's why they were better than I thought they were going to be going into the season.
Okay.
New England Patriots, obviously. I don't know. I don't even know.
I think we were all low on them anyway.
One of the worst
yeah.
rosters in
Football.
In football, it's got to be.
Yeah. It's just old. It's old.
Between them and
It's
the
old.
Panthers, it's two of the worst rosters.
Yeah.
You can't even say that like
There.
the Jets are not even. I mean, the Jets have a better roster.
Oh, sure.
Your Commanders have a better roster
Sure.
already. So yes, I think they're one of the worst rosters. So I don't even know if it's obviously underwhelming because they suck. But
Was it underwhelming to the low expectations?
Right. That's what the bar was set so low exactly. So were they at expectations? Because I think we all gave them like 3 to 5 wins.
yeah, we were all low.
Like,
So I
we were
guess they
all-
were at. But
It's
I'm
it's
just gonna say
below.
they're
It should
underwhelming.
be below.
I'm
It
just
should
saying-
be below
I'm just
because
saying.
it shouldn't be acceptable to win 3 fucking games.
Right. No, I thought they'd be a little bit better than that.
There you go.
Even being
Yeah,
the worst
yeah.
team in that division.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
think I had them. I think I had them at 5.
I
So,
think I was around there too.
New York Jets. I'll start with this underwhelming because he got hurt, but that offensive line still sucks ass. So you better figure that out.
dude? I don't. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not excited to come back
He said
to
he's
play
playing
for.
3 to 4 more years. Or
Yeah,
some shit.
dude. He said with good fortune I could play more years. Yeah, for sure.
we'll get into
Maybe
it.
more than 4 plays. We'll start there.
I mean, when we talk about them team, that's where we have to start. Is obviously the offensive line. So I'm underwhelming them. Trev.
Yeah, no, obviously underwhelming. You expected a lot more. That injury played a big part.
You guys each had them in the playoffs, didn't you?
Yeah,
I don't see
thought
why I wouldn't
they were
have.
gonna be
I
a
don't
problem
see
with
with
Rodgers.
with the
But
way it
then
was
they
going
lost
in.
him.
Yeah. But it's just that narrative got screwed literally from the first drive.
Damn.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even you didn't even have time to get a drink.
No.
It was bad. Like, and it sucks. Like, Aaron Rodgers, the human, kind of seems a little douchey. And
Yes.
by kind of, I mean, he
By a
pretty
lot.
much, like, puts it out there that he's a douche. Like, but
He's not necessarily anywhere near our favorites. We all know that he's probably one of the greatest to sling it. but
right,
we
which
don't very
is
like him very much at all.
why he gets away with what he gets away with. Because if he wasn't a 4-time MVP, he wouldn't have, that leash, I suppose. Like, talent buys you a longer leash, if you will. Except for Ray Rice, you dumb shit.
let's start breaking the teams down. I'll start first with the Buffalo Bills since they end up winning the division.
And they're probably the biggest news this offseason as well for what just happened over the last week.
Yeah, so they released
everybody.
Poyer and Hyde, their safeties. They also released Tervadius White. But you know what I was thinking?
And Morris, and their center.
And their Morris center. But I was thinking of this. All those guys were hurt last year. So they still made it without those guys playing. Remember, White got hurt game 5. Remember, they lost like everybody. The linebackers were down.
Milano was gone.
And he's like the heart of the defense. I know they lost. Poyer was out at points in time. They just actually re-signed one of the safeties to an extension. Not those two, but the guy that actually played all year because those guys are hurt. But I think for them, for the Bills, when we talk next year or when we talk at the beginning of football season, we talk our coaches on the hot seat. Sean McDermott is going to be on my list of coaches on the hot seat. I think that if he doesn't get it done this year, they need to look at going a different direction. The defense has been good, but they haven't been great. And the offensive line has always been awful. Like Sean McDermott, if they don't win this year, I think he should be done. Draft-wise, I think that they go receiver first round if I was them. And then I'd be looking defensive back, whether the best one on the board, second round. And then they took a guard last year, the kid from Florida that we all liked. So I think I'd look at taking another lineman, third round, defensive player, third round, and just building your lines. And I'd look at taking another flyer on a receiver. You got to build up that. Kincaid is amazing. I also think you take a running back maybe 5th round and just give some depth back there. Sure. I mean, there are some free agents. Maybe one of these free agents want to sign with J.A. and go hang out up there with him for another
and be the offset to an oncoming Zach Moss. That's James Cook. That's
he played really well.
Yeah, he did. He came on at the end of the year.
I still think you want another punch. Save Cook a little bit.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying, though. You give the Thunder and the Lightning.
Yep. What do you guys think?
I wasn't really surprised with them letting go of both the safeties just because of the way the market has trended. But the center, that was like
that
one
was
of their
surprising.
Primary, with not having a strong offensive line, he was probably their best guy on the line, and just because of cap casualty.
Is he the only center that Allen's ever played with?
Yes.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
They signed Taylor Rapp. That's who they signed. That was the safety they did sign.
That's right. He came over from the Rams.
Yep. So they did sign him. But yes, they do need a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely looking offensive line.
The cap got him this year. The cap got him this year for sure.
The top of the draft.
The Jay Allen contract finally kicked in, and now he's soaking up, 30% of your cap. So you're going to have to manipulate a lot of other things.
They had to rework what's his name's deal, Von Miller. They reworked his deal because he had a big deal.
I'm
and
sure.
He didn't play it all last year.
No, he hasn't played in like a year and a half, unfortunately.
All right, let's jump to the Miami Dolphins.
So the Dolphins, some of their big releases, we talked about cornerback Howard.
Xavier Howard. Yep.
Do you think he still has shit in the tank?
I think a change of scenery will prove to be you'll see it or not pretty quick, right?
Do you think that he just him and Vic just
started mailing it in,
banged heads too much, and then that's...
It could have been part of it. I also think it depends. The biggest thing for him, I think, instead of prioritizing who's going to pay him the most, I'd look for particular teams, because I think particular teams you'll get more out of him than some other teams.
Because I'm only asking because I'm in the market.
Right. And the Raiders had a resurgence on defense last season.
Damn right they did.
I think he needs that fire. I don't know how much fire was there in Miami. Just like you said earlier, they seem more like a fair weather team.
Correct.
Also Agba on the defensive line, and Jerome Baker, the linebacker. They released all those guys. Andrew Van Ginkel was a free agent. He was an edge that played a lot for them because of the injuries they had. And the signing that they made was Jonnu Smith at tight end. So tight end has been kind of a lack.
Jonnu Smith's been lackluster too.
He has.
He's like David Njoku, kind of like Njoku only looked good with Joe Flacco. Why? Like, there's somebody out there that can make Jonnu Smith look like that. I promise you. He's a great athlete. Just it's never translated to its full potential.
They lost Christian Wilkins too, the D tackle.
Oh, yes.
He's the number 2 player. He could be the number 2 or 3 player depending on if you have Kurt at number 2 on your free agent board. Christian Wilkins is your top 5 two are defensive tackles between Chris Jones and Christian Wilkins. So
Right.
What's your opinion on them going into the draft?
I think that
I mean, they obviously lost a lot of defense, but is there another position?
I thought offensive line
Offensive line,
would be one of the guys they go to. I mean, we're seeing such a good tackle class. I think I'd have to pull up my mock. I think I have 5 or 6 go in the first round. Depending on what the Niners do, that could make. I'd have to look. It could be almost 7 tackles go in the first round. The kid from Arizona, Morgan, might jump up there.
Yeah, he could.
I think offensive line. They got the weapons are there at every position. You take another flyer. You find. The kid from I'd have to look. Then another kid from a small school. He had a blazing time. I have to look his name up. At running back, take another flyer to find that Mike McDaniel dude.
Good room though.
Right, and you just take another flyer one of those rounds. You find some receiver that this kid can fly, but we haven't really seen much on tape. You find one of those receivers in the 5th round. Mike McDaniels turns him into a blazer with the rest of that team.
So that's more of the late round luxury. But edge and offensive
line. Yeah, that would be where I'd go. And the kid from UCLA might follow them because of injury history, and that's why I think Burse is the second one. That Latea Tufu.
Latupu, I believe it is.
Latupu. Yeah. I think he could be in that. Edge might be that position too, because you said Winkle, and we're talking Wilkins gone, but they could replace Wilkins with the Illinois kid, Newton. So
he'll be there. Yeah.
So yeah,
he should be, or he's projected around that area.
Yep, right around there. Good job, Chuck. I'm proud of you. Look at you doing your homework.
I love me some mock drafts too, bro. I just don't believe in them when I see that crazy shit. When I'm like, that's not right, dude. Well,
the Sims are outrageous.
It's so funny though. Well, because exactly when you're reading like real like sports writer mocks and stuff like that, even though some of them you're like, all right, this guy's legitimately trying to put together a mock, and some guys are just doing your clickbait stuff where it's just like, yeah, he jumped all the way up here. No, he didn't. He's not gonna. Come on.
Mel Kiper, Lance Zerline, DJ's usually pretty good.
Jeremiah.
DJ, I like listening to him. He's the first one that had Brock Bowers falling, and I was going, no way, fuck no. And then I started doing mock drafts.
Yep.
It's very fucking hard. I had him going to the Seahawks at 16
I know,
because
I don't like that at all.
To find a spot for him, unless the Jets. I thought the Jets, right? But then you got to go off
the Jets, the Chargers.
I'd put him at the Chargers, but
the Jets, not the Jet. No way.
He loves tight ends.
Hope he falls to the Bengals.
You're not gonna take an offensive lineman?
Well, that's what we got to talk free agency. But let's move on to the next team in the list, and the New England Patriots.
Okay, so I was just reading this article, y'all. They released J.C. Jackson to clear up $103 million in cap coming into this offseason.
They're number one.
They tagged Duggar, and they just signed Hunter Henry to a 3-year, up to $30 million deal. So okay, but they're old. Everything they need offensive line, they need a quarterback, because if you're not sold on Mac Jones, I don't know, maybe he can still do it now that there's a new
I think
situation going on up there.
Don't you think the best thing for that kid though is to get him out of town, get him like a new fucking scenery?
Okay, so are you sold on the third quarterback then, because you're at 3 right now, right?
I don't know. I was hoping they'd go get Russell Wilson, but that's just my fucking scariness for what my team's going to do. I think they have to take quarterback at 3, and I do think that they need to sign Garoppolo or Brissett, because I think the quarterback they take at 3 is one of the more talented quarterbacks, but I think he's got to sit, dude. And I think more and more tape as people are watching.
Do you think it's Williams Daniels 1-2?
100%.
I think everybody is kind of bought into that narrative,
Jaden,
right?
I think as you listen to these guys start talking, some of the guys that know what the fuck they're talking about they talk about Jaden and the way he is like.
He's the prototype that you're going forward with.
He is
in
on
the
point.
NFL.
He's on point with the throws.
Right.
He can run.
He's athletic as shit.
He's a bigger Lamar Jackson.
He should be the dude.
He's not as fast as Lamar, but he's a bigger.
Nobody's as fast as
Yeah,
Lamar.
he's
That
a
guy's
big-
a fucking wizard on a football field.
And he's cleaned up his throw, and that's what
That's
what
need
gives
to
you
do.
hope for people. And like I think Josh Allen is a perfect example, and I think I've brought this up a couple other times. If you work hard, you can fix the accuracy because it's the way your bottom half goes. It's the way your mechanics are. You can fix accuracy if you work hard enough and get like a good quarterback coach. Look at J.A., dude. His accuracy's gotten way better through the years.
It's gone up by like I think like 15%
So
from
you
like
can-
his rookie year to now, which is fucking amazing.
But Chuck, the team you're on, worst roster in the NFL.
old, just
So they-
old, and not. There's no hope.
Here's a question for you.
Go
Would
for
you
But I
trade the number 3 pick to get a haul to say maybe like the Raiders, the Vikings,
Okay.
the Broncos
okay.
to get a haul, and then you just don't go get the top quarterback? Maybe you
It
take
It
somebody.
depends on the haul. It depends on the haul, man. Because I mean, honestly, if you're looking, because the debate is you're not just the quarterback away. Now, the quarterback is the hardest to get to. I understand that, but if you can reshape, so let's say
Because
you-
they might lose their starting right tackle. Sorry, Charlie. Mike Oluwenu. Their starting right tackle is the number one tackle, or the number one offensive line, whether he plays guard or tackle right now in the free agent market. So he might be gone too. So that's one of your better freaking players.
So-
I make the trade. I make the trade because
I love
think
it. I love it.
it's not. This seems like a typical Patriots because that's what kind of Belichick would do, but that it really has nothing to do with him. It's because where the team is, and because May is high of a prospect as he can be, he's not ready
if
right
you,
away.
you can't take a developmental guy.
So with the quarterbacks that are there, I think you
I
make
love
that
it.
trade.
Dude, because you could say you traded like with the
I
Raiders or Vikings, you get to 11 and
completely
then take 44 or whatever they have, so you get their first and second this year. You could even trade back again, so then you have like 2 second rounders. You could trade back again to
I
get
don't know.
somebody
See,
else's.
yeah, of course. Yes, I think that. I don't think the New England Patriots will end up making the 3rd overall pick. I do have some feeling that will change.
I do too.
Because they're not that team. They don't pick that high. They never do.
Well, I mean, it's a new regime, but that's definitely been the mold.
Maybe
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then the last one.
I'll finish out the last with the
Give
New
it to
York
us.
Jets. We had this discussion earlier, and we'll get into it now. They need offensive linemen.
Bad. Bad.
I said earlier in Chuck said, "What about offense line?" I said, "Well, it's hard to find Brock Bowers' move, but I think that Aaron loves tight ends, and he could go to 10." And Chuck said, "What about offense line?" Well, if you have the money, you can probably if you could get a couple in free agency, you could take another one in the second round to solidify the line. Because I think Aaron loves Brock Bowers or loves tight ends. And then you could pair him and the kid from Ohio State. Chucky's shaking his head. I know you don't love it. And I
don't like this strategy
I
at all.
I mocked an offense lineman, but it is an option. If you think about where Brock Bowers would fall, it's hard to find a spot.
It would be a nice luxury, but I think where the Jets are, you not only bring in offensive lineman in free agency, you're drafting that offensive lineman in the first round.
I do too. I think you're taking one. It's so hard, and when you're going through mock, when you guys start doing yours, it's so hard to find a landing spot for Brock. And it was just the Jets are one of those things. Sure. I think obviously offensive line's huge. Your defense is pretty well set, but offensive line and another weapon. Some type of receiver.
Yeah, another receiver, you get those later with how deep this
and I think
is.
a tight end as well.
Sure.
But this isn't a good tight end. This is not a good tight end class. This is probably one of the weaker ones. I think the kid from Texas maybe is at 2. There's another kid. I'd have to look up the tight end class. I don't even know him because it's so bad once you get past Brock. So when you guys look at it, what do you think, T?
For the tight ends, I've done a couple mocks and I could see that. I think somebody will probably pop. That comes out of nowhere, but it doesn't have that high potential outside of Bowers. really. I mean,
Well, no, last year's TE class was insane. Look at all the production that came out of last year's draft, dude, with Laporta and
this isn't
Kincaid, and no, not even close.
Even Mayer had a pretty good year. Got hurt
He was
at the end of the year, but
they
was
were
starting to
all
come on.
they were all first or second round talents right there. Hell yeah!
Each
And
of those
they're-
guys that we just named, well, Kincaid did go first, but Mayer and Laporta would be easy first or seconds after Brock. Nobody's beating Brock, but this class is not good.
Not even close. And then there was Musgrave and
He played good.
Who was
Kraft.
the other one? Kraft was the other one. Yep. Thank you. So yeah, we're not looking at that in this year's class.
So I think literally it's offensive line and weapons for the
offensive
Jets.
offensive
And
line.
I think you could almost, if you're the Jets, you could almost go, depending on what you do for agent, you go offense line first pick, receiver second pick, offense line third pick, offense line fourth pick, receiver fifth pick, sprinkle in
just load up on those two positions.
sprinkle in a defensive player here and there, depending on because your cornerbacks are set, your corners are young.
You're set on. You got a defensive line too. You just re-signed Quentin Williams.
Correct.
Yeah, no,
Outside of
Maybe
Wilson,
edge, maybe get that edge guy in the fourth round that kind of you like.
spell.
Well,
Maybe
I think that's
spell.
still like
Or see that
maybe
talent.
McDonald from last year that they drafted.
Right,
in the
I
first
forgot
round.
about Will
Yeah,
McDonald.
no, Will McDonald
Damn.
was the 15th overall. That's
him
why.
developing further. They did actually
Good
get
call.
two receivers
That was.
that they drafted two that made the team that could, if they continue to grow, could be your third or fourth guy maybe. So you're still looking for that other guy, of course, but
So that's our AFC East breakdown. Trev's going to finish this hazy, and then we're going to cheers on this cider here.
All right, I got
boys.
the Gigantes pulled up when we're ready for the NFC East.
oh boy.
All
Cheers,
right,
boys.
cheers.
Chucky's going to start the NFC East. The NFC East is going to be a hot topic.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's more what I was expecting last
God, that's
week.
so fucking good, boys.
wow, dude.
Wish you got a 12-pack.
That might just be like my favoriteest cider I've ever had, dude. That hits it.
What are we drinking, Charlie, since we're talking favorite cider?
I mean, seriously, that's delicious.
That's Paul, dude.
Pear by Ace. So Ace makes a bunch of different flavors of ciders, and this one is the pear, and you can tell it's just got this green hue. It's great. It looks like a pear. Like it's got a little hue to it, a little darker, and it drinks so good. It's a little sweet, 5%.
It is absolutely delicious.
Out of California. Once again, West Coast.
What did you say? 5%.
5%, just regular,
So
yeah.
normal
Just
haze.
straightforward.
So we didn't touch. I touched on McDermott. Is there any other coaches? How hot Solid's seat? Mayo's new, and McDaniel's obviously his seat's like cold as ice. How hot is Solid? Is Solid got? If they don't win this year, is that over in New York?
I think so, but I think the only way that happens is if Aaron gets hurt again. Because if he's on the field, I don't think they're gonna be bad enough to get him fired.
I would agree with that. I mean, the easiest fall guy is the coach traditionally, right? But because you draft, you scout a little bit, you have your hands in all the pots, and if you don't build the team right, then that's kind of your fault. But there's also has to be some player accountability. And in New York, did he draft Wilson? Was that his
He's
draft
part
pick?
of that draft, yes.
Did
Okay, Sala. Well, then I have a hard time. That one's tough.
Offensive and defensive of the year.
I know that was Doug. He got Garrett Wilson and
Sauce.
who's Sauce Gardner. That's right.
Did,
yeah. God damn, he's a great player too. But,
do you guys think that McDermott's on the hot seat?
yes,
Like I said,
absolutely, he has to be.
I think this year does play a big part
But-
of that with especially all the cap casualties, how that team
I don't
is reshaped.
exactly.
They need to be a playoff team for him
But-
to not be, I think, on the hot
I
seat.
don't. I think McDermott's more on the hot seat than Sala.
Correct.
I really do. Okay.
Let's run through the NFC first of how we feel like they had their season, then we'll break them down. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. Charlie.
I mean, shit, man. For if you're a Cowboys fan, that's below expectations. But for the national narrative, that's right about what they do every year.
That's what
Is what
we
the Cowboys do.
Me-
That's what the Cowboys do.
me and Trev said they'd win the East. And they did.
And they did. No, yeah, I was a Philly rider, and it didn't work out for me.
But is it
They
underwhelming
fizzled.
because they didn't get farther in the
Yeah,
playoffs?
of course it's underwhelming because the
And
expectation within these last couple of years is they haven't made an NFC championship.
Yeah, it was more than just making the playoffs. It's how they lost in the playoffs.
Smacked by Green Bay. Smacked. Smacked.
That's
A lot of people are going to get smacked by Green Bay.
Yeah, but that one wasn't expected. They were not supposed to be a playoff team this year.
I did.
I think I snuck him in 7.
I had him
might
in
have
7.
I knew I was higher on him than he was low.
Obviously,
Low
we're all
man.
underwhelming on the Cowboys.
Well, I think because the expectation was going into the season super high. So yeah, underwhelming.
New York Giants.
That, for me, clearly underwhelming. I was much higher on
I was too.
the Gigantes.
They were basically right where I had them.
Yeah, you had them
called
pegged
it right.
very
Sucking.
low. You
You
sure
know why?
did. You
Because
sure
they
did.
suck at quarterback, which makes me nervous what they're going to do in this upcoming draft because
At
they're
6?
sitting in the way of fucking everything I need in life as a good quarterback. But I think I had them right where they were. Obviously, probably maybe underwhelming, but yeah. Next team on the list is obviously another very underwhelming Philadelphia Eagles. I had them make the playoffs, but I knew it was going to be a step back. It was a bigger step than I thought.
I had the bird.
And I'm a little bit wondering. I'll be the one that reviews, but I'll bring it up right now. Is Jalen Hurts at the top of his game? And we have is that it? You think he's coming back to a level where he was a year ago?
I think he still has the ability. Yeah, I think he still is young enough to refigure or to progress. I think he can go forward. I don't think he's spoiled. He had a handful of bad games. He's got a full off season. He's young. He's healthy. He can figure it out. We're not talking about some 37, 38-year-old guy who's been on like his 4th or 5th team where we're hoping he figures it out.
Trev?
I think he might be closer to who he was this year than he's going to be. I'm surprised I'm getting a fist pump because of this or bump it.
Bumpy.
With you losing Kelsey in the middle, that offensive line was good. Those receivers were good. That offense was not. I mean, it was all right. It was all right.
It was okay at points of time.
Inconsistent is what it was for a team that looks so much better the previous year.
And they fired their offense coordinator. They brought Kellen Moore.
Yes, so and that's a question too. I don't know how good of a move that is. Like,
I'm with you.
I'm not sure. Like, I know everyone like jumped on that Hurts bandwagon after that season because it was incredible. But now,
Clearly underwhelming.
Yeah,
is the
last season
season
was
narrative.
completely-
So you guys think he's gonna stagnate? You think he's plateaued, and I think he can break through.
Yeah, we'll jump into it when we jump into the team. Let's get to the last team out of the way. Washington Commanders, obviously underwhelming.
I don't know, man. I would say they're right about at expectations. They weren't supposed to be good,
I thought
but
they
they
were
did
underwhelming because
okay.
their defense. Look at they end up trading.
Well, then they
Sweat
dished.
and-
They dished. Yeah,
You know what I'm
they-
saying?
Yeah.
And Sweat
But so
literally.
smart. Guess who avoided cap penalties coming into this offseason?
They killed it.
Yeah, they got draft picks and got contracts off their
It
books.
was some good
Super
hindsight.
smart.
God, I wish the Raiders would have traded a fuck round
No,
pick for Marquez
it's
Sweat.
the Brian Burns argument right there. Under this new regime, thank God for that for the Commanders, man, because
that was kind of what the Patriots and Belichick lived by.
where they were known for a year before, not a year after.
While we're on the Commanders, Charlie, why don't we start with you? You got the Commanders and the Giants. Why don't we go?
You want to do? I was going to bring up the Giants first. That's what I have posted.
Follow the Giants and Charlie.
Yeah, so the non-franchise tag did not get used, right, on Mr. Saquon Barkley. And he's okay, so he's only 29, right? But it feels like he's $1 million. It's so weird.
I don't know.
I have a
if I'm
hard
paying
time
him.
making an argument for him making a shitload of money.
Well, the heavy workload.
That
along
sounds
with the
crazy because
injuries.
I so was a Saquon guy, and I just can't be
I'm not.
right now.
I'd rather sign Josh Jacobs over Saquon if I had a pick of the running
Between
backs.
the two of them.
Yep, I think
I don't
Saquon
know
is
if
too
I
injury.
understand why they both are not on a
Jacobs has a
roster
lot of miles,
because
too.
I'm not. Yeah, although between Alabama and the Raiders, good lord,
He didn't have that many at Alabama.
But okay, well they had 300 plus touches every time
Raiders-
he's been a Raider.
With the Raiders, he's got a lot of miles.
Yeah,
Alabama, that's why I like the pick because
No,
he
because
didn't.
he didn't. Okay, that's right. I recall this. Yeah, but I would say I'm not high on either of those.
You know who
To
I'm
be
high
fair. What you got?
Jalen Hyatt.
Okay.
He's one of the receivers.
He
I think
is
he's
for the Gigantes.
Do you think there was a report that
It was
came out
last year's draft pick.
The report came out that Eisen, we've talked about off pod.
Shout. He's the dude. I really love Eisen for real though. He's great.
He's one of my listens. Is Daniel Jones? The Giants are completely done on him.
Out.
Is that
Out
you guys
ski.
believe that? Is that? So are we taking a quarterback at 6? Are we signing Russ Dog up there? Please sign Russell Wilson so I don't have to.
He's begging for anybody to sign Russ, man. Anybody, just get him off the market. Don't become a Raider. Oh my God, I would laugh. Oh my God, I would laugh.
Do you? I'm out. I'm fucking so far out on that Daniel Jones. I called it 2 years ago. I know, Chuck, you were a little bit more in.
Oh yeah, that's
Try
why
to-
I thought they were going to be like a 10-win team this year, dude. I was way wrong on the Giants.
So, are we taking Neighbors? Are we taking a Dunze at 6? Are we taking an offensive line? Because our offensive line's okay.
Well, yeah,
It's not
because
great.
you can't draft a quarterback at 6. The right prospects are gone at 6.
Even if May's there at 6. Say May's there at 6.
But-
you take
If
it.
May's there at 6, I'll probably take him.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's
so
a receiver.
because in your backup plan, he's going to learn under the tutelage of Daniel Jones?
No.
Or are you going to cut his ass anyway? And then you're going to bring in a veteran on
Jones
that's...
is a placekeeper. He's a
Right,
bridge
That's a
guy
good call.
because of his injury history and what you're paying
Do you
him.
have to keep him?
After this season, he's gone.
Do you have to keep him for the guarantee? Are the guarantees still
That's
there?
why he's
Is that
there
it?
this season.
Okay.
And after that, they get that relief and they can get rid of
Have
him.
you guys looked enough at the drafts board of your own to? Would Brock Bowers be a better? I know they have Darren Waller, but he doesn't ever plays. You think Brock Bowers is a better pick over the Neighbors or Dunze, or is Neighbor Dunze a better pick over the Brock Bowers?
1,000%.
Wide receivers over Bowers.
Look at the way the NFL is going. You just mentioned Hyatt. You didn't say Waller. You said a wide receiver.
Well, because Waller doesn't play. Like, I didn't
Okay,
notice
so
on the
then
roster.
okay. Even Kelsey took a big ass step back this year. We didn't have like a breakout TE one because Andrews was hurt. Kittle did good, but not great.
Kittle had solid
He
year.
had a solid, right?
1,000-yard season, which he doesn't always have because of the other playmakers on that
Sure,
offense.
sure. No, that was slicing and dicing all
He does
over
a lot
the
of
field.
blocking, which I
But
love.
I'm just saying though, like that market is
No,
also.
I just wanted to
even
throw
though-
out the question.
Sure.
You know, you make a good point because Laporta, rookie, was one of the better tight
Yeah,
ends this
for
season.
sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mayer started coming on.
No.
Kincaid had a huge year.
At the end,
year.
at the end of the year, his
All-
last 6-7 games were nasty.
You
for
can
sure.
almost argue that Kittle was 1, Kelsey was 2, and then you could almost argue that Kincaid was 3 or 4.
Laporta was like
Laporta
three.
was
all
3.
season.
But he got hurt. That's what tripped him up. He missed like 3 games.
Yep.
Dude, that cider was fantastic.
It's so good. Laporta. So you could say that the rookies were almost better than almost every other tight end in the league.
I mean, they're up. They're up in the top 5. We just named them within the top 5, which is pretty crazy.
And then
I mean-
I guess for the rest of the Giants draft, you got to look running back because you're probably not keeping Barkley. So you're taking maybe a running back
definitely.
at 4th round, 3rd round. But I do think you need to look offensive.
Medicine go.
they need line help too.
That's what I'm saying. I
bad
think you
on
really
both
need
sides,
to look at
both
offensive
sides.
line and defensive
Yeah,
line.
absolutely.
That team needs a lot of work.
Everywhere.
How hot is Dable's seat in your opinion, Charlie?
Oh man, I wasn't really obviously going into the season just coming off of the coach of the year before. It's like you can't be. And then
I know.
this roster fumbled the bag hard under his tutelage, and it was not good. So
Well, I think it's all because he exceeded expectations the first
year one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this year
Bar
plays
set
a
too
major
high?
role in how
His seat gets
goes.
hotter.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair.
I think that makes sense.
All right. Let's roll into the Dallas Cowboys team mun.
Cowboys.
I think this seat is fucking on fire.
I can't believe
yeah.
he can't. We were all shocked that Jerry made that decision quick too. He was like right after the season. He said McCarthy's coming back, brother.
With the loss they had to Green Bay, I thought that was going to be it.
It
for
should
them.
have been. It should have been the KOD, man, the kiss of death. How like every other franchise.
I think I brought it up earlier.
It's because Jerry's old school, man. He's patient, homeboy.
He has
and
been.
to a fault. To a fault.
Jason
He
Garrett was
gave
around
him
for a long
6
time.
more
He
years than he
was.
should have.
Exactly.
Dude, Garrett. Yeah, I clapped as hard as I could, Jerry. They just wouldn't win the game.
I think that ties into Dak Prescott too. Him
Dude.
And they're both on the
55
last year of their contracts.
$55-60 million. That dude, no way,
not
dude.
worth it.
No way.
worth
The
it.
Cowboys need to. Well, I hope they sign him, but they should. If you're talking from an outside person, they should not sign him. They should be looking somewhere else.
No, I agree. Like, it's just too much money. It's just too much.
For a quarterback that doesn't
For-
win you games.
hasn't. Yeah.
He wins your regular season.
No,
games.
I was gonna say.
Does
yeah.
he? He
Where's-
beats good teams.
Where's that NFC Championship
No.
at?
Or he beats bad
Where's,
teams.
it
bad
doesn't
teams,
matter.
there
None
you
of
go.
none of that matters. None of that matters.
Draft wise, I think you got to look tackle early on because they lost Smith.
Yep, with Smith leaving.
You got to remember Diggs is coming back, so their corners are good.
Their corner, that defense.
the
is
secondary
good.
is going to be fine.
The
They've
line
drafted
new
up front.
coordinator, but
Yeah.
The line should be good if I'm remembering right? And the linebackers, you maybe can get one, maybe need one there, maybe. But I think you got to look offensive line,
Offensive
and I do
line
think
is-
you need
is the main
another
tool.
receiver.
Yes, I think you need another receiver. They're
Well,
tight
it's a
end.
good
they're
thing
tight-
you can get a receiver in the first four fucking rounds.
dude,
Like,
they're
they're
sick.
everywhere. Yeah,
They're
So-
tight end Fredrickson.
No, that was their old lineman. You're thinking of
Oh, yeah, that was the center.
Ferguson.
He came out. He had a really good year.
Close-ish.
He had a really good year this
Yeah,
year.
no,
So
he had a breakout
um,
year for sure.
offensive line definitely, and I do think maybe another edge, but
Running
definitely
back,
offensive line,
running back.
and they have to go
Running back.
Well, I think they're going to end up signing one of those dudes.
Well,
You
I
think
mean,
so? Well,
they're-
Jerry would. That team would. That is very true. The
lot
Cowboys have no problem picking up contracts.
and
like
I
that
actually think
sometimes.
that the one that they're going to sign is the third one written on
Henry?
Yep.
a lot of people linked into the Cowboys. He seems like the right fit. It's just finding that money. They rework Martin Guard's
Yep, I
contract.
saw that.
Zach Martin. Yep.
Yes, but still, that contract's gonna make them limited in what they can do, unless they really want to re-sign him to a long-term deal.
No, Dak is going to fist the Dallas Cowboys, as it were, if he wants to.
Well,
the leverage is 100% in his court.
It could be a re-blow the whole thing up and start over on your coach / quarterback, like we said
At the
both
end of this year.
Yep, on both at the end of this year, and you just kind of just
If you really eat a turd sandwich, but they're going to do good enough to put you in the mushy middle, even if...
Who's a free agent next year in quarterback play?
Oh, my goodness gracious. That's quite the question,
You could go
Downey. I can't pull that.
Think
them
about
names.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but maybe one of those guys wants to put that star on their helmet, and you get rid of Dak.
I
and
mean,
you get
it's
your
not to say
quarterback.
that somebody... It's one of those...
Oh,
It's one of those scenarios, though, that, like, when it comes available, you scrap to get it, dude. Being the Cowboys quarterback, like, I know we all dislike the Cowboys, but to
Putting a
think
star
of
on
what
your
that
helmet.
means, it does. It's a national narrative for sure. And Dak, he didn't live up to it to the extent of $55 million. All right, like, it's not that he's a good quarterback.
Sure.
He's a good football player, but he is not him. He's not Mahomes. He's not Burrow.
he's not anywhere near
Herbert.
the fucking top.
He's
five.
not-
top 5. He's on
Lamar.
the edge of
Yeah,
10.
he's not. Yeah. Okay, so he
He's at
shouldn't.
the edge of 10,
He shouldn't
correct.
be making top 2 money then. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I wish you well, Dak, but that's the truths.
I'll take the next team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Shane Steichen gets fired before the end of the season.
Steichen.
I think he's an awful coach. Not Shane Steichen.
I was like, don't hurt yourself.
Nick
He's
Sirianni.
Indy.
There you
Nick
go.
Sirianni. I think Nick
like-
Sirianni gets fired before the end of the season, and either Kellen Moore or Vic Fangio takes over and is an interim coach. I wouldn't be surprised if this team almost finishes third in the division this year, depending on if the Giants or Commanders can figure it out. I think that roster is good, but it doesn't want to play. AJ Brown seems to kind of be more of a whiner than anything.
He really stepped into the diva role this year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, it was really sad because that dude's a monster, but then there was just like pissing and moaning coming out of his camp.
And I just hate that.
I agree.
My boy Jason Kelsey, he retired. I think that'd be so cool to drink beers with that guy. He jumped through a table on fire. He's awesome. I think that that offensive line takes a step back. Lane Johnson's only getting older. I think that I actually mocked them taking the center from Oregon. You're gonna have
Powers
to.
Johnson.
You need to rebuild. I think
Which is a
Jalen
great name.
is just a guy. I think he's more of a Dak Prescott than
Mahomes.
Lamar or Mahomes or Herbert. I don't even.
I hate how much I have referenced Mahomes.
Dude, he's so fucking when you're on top of the mountain, dude, you're on top of the mountain.
So fucking good. Even when Lamar won the MVP, there's still no doubt who QB1 is, right?
I think that that defense just didn't play great under the coordinator, and I think that the cornerbacks need to be reset too. So,
okay.
Eagle-wise, though, I think you're in trouble. I do. I think that roster is in trouble. I think we thought it was a really good roster last year when you look at it on paper, and we didn't think the receivers were deep, but we're like, AJ and Smith will take care of it. Well, when one of them gets hurt,
and they could be dealing some of their veteran talent too. So I mean, they've been rumored to be on the market with.
Yeah, they just signed Patrick Graham again. I don't know why. He's playing for he's like 70 years
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham.
Yes.
He's 70 years old.
He's going into his 15th year. At a position most guys play like 7. Like D-end, he's like doubling up the D-end career.
There's that weird Hassan Reddick news where he wanted to trade and then he came out and said he didn't want to trade. That was kind of weird.
I don't want no trades or
Gardner Johnson's been linked to go back to him, but he had a very down year for the Lions, which we'll get into when we break them down. What do you guys think, Eagle-wise? You got to look offensive line first, and then after that, I do think you need another weapon at some point.
Both lines, period. They need to get younger on both. Even while they did get Nolan Smith, and they do have Jordan Davis, so they did invest in their D-line. They need to. And Jalen. Oh, dear, duh.
I think
offensive line. Offensive line.
Linebackers been
That's a good one too. They're old there. They're old there is the problem.
Linebacker. Well, and then they've just been underwhelming. They got hurt really bad last year. They had to go deep into their linebacking core last year.
Okay, so linebacker
There's
makes
some
sense.
good free agents available.
Patrick Queen. He's playing for the Seahawks next year. Come on, we all know that.
I'm not against that at this point, given the regime that just came in. I was just speaking on the idea that the Seahawks need linebackers because Bobby, I love him, but he's getting old. He's getting up there. I don't know if we're gonna sign. I don't know if we're gonna sign Jordan Brooks. Anyway, so we're not going to sidebar to the Seahawks. But
Charlie, finish it off with a very interesting team.
Well, the Commanders, right?
Very interesting.
Man, they haven't really done much as far as like roster retooling just yet. They are basically sitting at number 3 and just kind of letting things develop too. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Absolutely, it's number 2. They're going to draft Jaden Daniels, right? And
yes.
They're gonna
because once Fields is, we know that Fields is done.
You have to swing. You have to swing this through here.
You have to
Washington commit to this. You have to commit to this. No, it's just you don't get. Well, the last time you drafted number 2, you drafted Robert Griffin. Yeah, and you've ruined that poor guy. So learn, bro. Yeah, they needed to not play him, and he blew out his knee a second time in the same season. Anyway, Jaden Daniels is the move here to reset this team because they have talent on. They have Brian Robinson Jr. Antonio Gibson is a free agent, so that's kind of a big deal. They're spell back. You can find another guy in the draft probably, but later.
They're another team that needs to take 7 offensive linemen.
They gave you Chase Young, so they got some draft capital there. They have Scary Terry along with Logan.
Yeah, great.
Jahan Dotson had kind of a slumpy year. It was a roller coaster year, but he had some really great games. He had a couple of breakout games, but it's kind of some slumpy stuff. Yeah,
they got a little.
They drafted a cornerback last year in the Forbes. So and then I think they dumped like I said Young, but
and they traded Sweat, so they got an extra second rounder for him from the Bears.
So there you go.
Well,
I think they have to go Jaden too. Because Williams isn't going to be there.
I think that's the move, but what do you think they do with their next picks? Because
offensive line. You got to protect the fucking franchise.
Offensive line, and you said you could dump all those picks in that position, and I agree. But also, you got Dan Quinn as the head coach now, so in that defense,
the defensive line needs tooling, and so does the linebackers.
I think we'd have to pull up their draft picks. I think that if they have multiple second rounders, you can get.
They do.
You can get, and they have multiple thirds for the Chase. They get a 5th for Chase Young or a 3rd.
And I think they get a compensatory as well.
So you could literally get quarterback, offense line, and defense line your first 3 picks and be complete starters. Like we talked about the kid from Florida State, Brandon Fisk is moving up the boards. He could be there in the second round. You can get a start. You have to protect Jaden though.
I really think it's crazy, and they also have a shit dick ton of cap room, so
they got
They're
can
at 90
still
million too.
they can still manipulate money on top of all of that. That's the crazy part. Like, it's one thing when you have pick equity, but when you have cap room behind it, and you're like, no matter who we bring in, we can pay. That is enticing to a lot of people.
That's them and the Pats though. If you look at pick 2 and 3, pick 2 and 3 have cap and pick.
That's crazy. That is true. You very rarely see the combination of both. So, goddamn, dude, we just went over 2 out of the top 3 picks.
All right, Charlie, what do you got for a common sense this week, brother?
Man, the common sense. Okay, so this hits a little near and dear to me when it comes to the teams involved and the players involved, just because it's 2 former Seahawks, one taking a shot at the other one. So the Niners, strategically and intelligently, if you ask me, hired KJ Wright as an assistant linebacker coach. I don't think he's the number 1 linebacker coach, but the assistant linebacker. So on staff. And Bruce Irvin, number 1 draft pick, they were in the same draft class together.
Underwhelming number 1 draft pick, I might say.
He ended up redeeming himself in certain ways. Like, he does have the chip with us, and like he had a good career, not great career.
Correct.
Anyway, that's not the common sense is that
I'm calling him out.
Okay, I guess I kind of am too, because he said that, the 49ers are permanent oppositions, which, because Irvin spent a lot of time in Seattle. KJ spent more time in Seattle. He spent all but 1 year in Seattle for his career. So he has a podcast about Seattle that now he had to quit. He stopped. He's going to have to stop because now he's on the Niners staff. And I can respect it because the man is making a decision for his professional career to get involved in the NFL, not just on the outside talking about it anymore. Like, not as a player, but as a coach. That's fucking hard to do. And to have like a good friend of yours or like a former teammate that you want to chip with come out and say like you're making the wrong fucking decision. Like, I
think it kind of goes with, you don't ever talk about a man's money. I don't think you talk about a person's career decisions.
I agree. Exactly. Thank you. That's a better synopsis.
He's literally moving his career along. So maybe he's like an assistant coach right now, right, as a linebacker coach. Maybe next year he gets somebody ask Shanahan, like at the collegiate level, hey, what do you think of KJ? How do you do? And like Shannon, he's great. Maybe he gets picked up at a collegiate like defensive coordinator or co-defensive coordinator, and you start moving like through that. Like Antonio Pierce was a co-defensive coordinator with Herm Edwards on the Arizona, and now he's Arizona State. Yes, correct.
Sun Devils.
So now he's head coach. So you're working your career in the right direction.
Why would you ever want to be the crabs in the barrel, right? Why would you ever want to grab a person back down? When you see good hate, like, I guess.
Hate is going to hate.
Hate is going to hate.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I love that Bruce Irvin came back. Like, he blew his shit out again with us, but like we gave him one more contract and he came back and made a little bit of a difference. And like Bruce Irvin, I know he's kind of a sketchy dude overall, but it bums me out that he simply came out and said, you can't be doing this. It's like, that's not your decision, bro. And shout out to KJ Wright, and good fucking hire by the Niners as far as I'm concerned. I watched him for 9 years of his career. He's a great coverage back. He's going to blend with Warner and Greenlaw real easy. He's going to teach him a lot of shit. Sorry, that's my
Greenlaw is going to be sitting the bench next year.
A good while, but still, yeah, they can roll his year or whatever.
Poor Greenlaw.
Yeah.
All right,
that's not pleasant.
Let's roll into common sense.
We were just in
common sense. Fandom, sorry.
Come on, Downey.
Trev, why don't you start out the fandom, brother?
Give us some fandom.
All right, for
Turn
my
this
fandom,
frown upside down.
I wanted to give a shout out to Oklahoma women's baseball. Their streak ends after 71 wins against Louisiana.
How many seasons is that, Trev? Do you know? Because they might play do they play 20?
No, they play more than that.
They play 30 games in a season?
I think they even play. I think, yeah. Well,
I don't have
right. But that's got to be at least a season plus.
No, I think it's 2. I think they went undefeated for 2 seasons. I think their loss might have been in the national championship the year before.
Yeah. And they just put up some ridiculous numbers. They outscored their opponents 578 to 72.
It's like one of the most dominating teams in like sports history.
Yeah, in that time, 40 shutouts, which was 56% of their games. They also had 28 wins over ranked teams, 33 run rule wins, and
You have a run rule in softball if you get up by so many after a certain inning.
yes, and it was against at least 42 different programs.
Trash. That's trash. Let him play, coach. Teach
But
him a
just
lesson. Let him
dominance,
play.
like, they've
Hey,
dominated
that's so bad.
hard.
That's not. But that's okay. I'm sorry, softball. That's what's wrong with society. This matchup has to play its way through. It's 9 fucking innings. That's the game. You're adults.
It's only 7.
Okay. So
softball.
then it's only 7. You're adults. Play the fucking game. Finish it. It sucks. You just got wiped by 50. Guess whose fault that is? Yours. Play better. God damn it. Run rule in college. Get the fuck out of here, NCAA. They just light my fucking pilot, dude. They just piss me off.
While we're on Chuck's pilot, why don't we segue into? Did you see the NFL is trying to do 18 games? You want to go off on that too, Charlie?
I can rip a little into that.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna cue my fandom back into the NCAA later. But dude, the idea that the NFL needs to expand again,
They're talking
rapidly.
They're talking 2 buys.
They're
then
gonna have to. You're gonna have to.
It would be we'd be Super Bowl would have happened like last weekend.
There's not
Or this weekend.
There's not a shot that you can get another game without a bye week to come with it. There's not a shot.
Counter argument, real quick, that if they had that extra game, that would push it, I believe, the Super Bowl back to President's Day, so we get that day off, or some people would at least.
I think it puts it the weekend after
It's the weekend after,
because you have to add 2 weeks.
You still
in.
have the bye week.
because of the
Yeah.
extra bye.
Well, because of the bye week before the Super Bowl,
the
right?
regular
Yes.
season game would just take the place of the preseason game, wouldn't it?
No, you would still start the same time, and you would
I
be the
don't-
week because somebody was talking about it.
Still,
and I think the Super Bowl would have been last weekend
NFL, listen to
Or
me.
something.
Listen to us.
because you got to add 2
Don't-
weeks on to the end
don't
of the
do
Super
that.
Bowl.
More is not always better. More is not always better. You can't pitch player safety and then have one of the most injury intensive games and then just say let's add games.
No, I wasn't
Like-
big on the 17. The owners want to do it so they get 9 and 9 instead of like 8 and then 9 the next year and then 8 and then 9 the next year. They want that other home game complete. It's a money-driven fucking move.
Oh, of course.
It has nothing. They don't give a fuck about player safety. They care about the cash going in their pockets.
I mean, I don't think you're far from the goddamn truth, to be fair. My fandom is going to highlight, as we round into the brackets, March Madness is upon us here. We are in championship week. They haven't really opened. There's one slot that's actually getting filled. It's like the Southwest, Eastern, North, South division.
Dude, we got a shot, boys.
We do. Nevada's got a legit shot. They're going to make the tourney for sure.
They said maybe 6 in the Mountain West.
That's pretty intense.
They had
yeah.
a big win against fucking Boise State.
Okay, so all right, so then you're just speaking on it, and I love this. This is going to be the last year of the normal bracket. After this, after all of these conferences get reworked, you're going to see 10 from the Big 12 because there's 24 fucking teams in there, and you're going to see 6 from the SEC.
Yeah, but
you're
it's
gonna
still
get
gonna be the
done-
same teams.
No, right, but what I'm saying though is no, you're pushing out all of the little guys that now like these divisions don't matter behind them. Like you're going to give all these at-large bids to. That's why this is my thought process as to why they want to go to 96, because if you expand only the meaningful conferences to a bunch of teams, then how do they got to get in wild card or at large bids, and how many at large bids can you make, right? Otherwise the little teams are going to get in, and all the big teams that are in the big conferences don't get in because you have to let in the little guys. It's the NCAA has fucked itself in this program moving forward. They do not know what they're going to do. So enjoy the last goddamn year where the bracket makes sense and you don't yes, are there teams that get left out every year? But a lot of times this committee is pretty darn close, man. You get a couple where you get a little irritated, but overall you're like, okay, these selections make sense.
Until college sports moves to a relegation league, this is what we're going to have.
Well, it should be college football should be its own thing.
Entity.
And
you
then
can
everything else should just go back to being the Pac-12 and all that shit. It was fine the way it was. They
They needed it to be that way. It only made sense that Stanford's going to be in the ACC.
Yes. Same with Cal.
But I mean, I just
Coast, hands up.
I just
That's
can't,
so fucked
dude.
up.
That is so fucked up. So, you guys, that's my
That's what-
because I love March Madness.
That's
This
why we
is-
gotta fix it on the Fix It pod.
We're rounding into my favorite time of year, and the fact that it's going to be really, really questionable coming up after this year kind of scares the living bejesus out of me, dude. So let's have a good fucking tourney, dude. Shout out to the conference tournaments that are coming up this week, and then we're going to have Selection Sunday in 2 weeks, and we'll go over brackets, because that's shout out how to this pod started, baby. We started on the back of March Madness. We're rounding into a year of Balls and Brews, y'all.
My fandom is plead to my team.
A plead.
Plead.
Plead in the pants.
Please. I talked about who we want to sign. We want to sign the tackle from the Patriots. We want to sign like a Chris Jones or a Christian Wilkins. You know who we don't want to fucking sign? It's Justin Fields or fucking Russell Wilson. Stay away.
Stay away.
Pierce, you said you don't want a Band-Aid at a quarterback. That's not even a Band-Aid. That's like a fucking like piece of like crap on a fucking wound. That doesn't work. We cannot do that. We need to draft somebody. If Aiden's not the dude, you need to take somebody. There isn't a free agent. If you got Kirk, that'd be cool, but he's probably not coming to you. So, just don't stay away. Stay away from that shit. Stay away from the Chase Youngs of the world. Stay away from stupid signings. We don't need another receiver, Josh McDaniels. Luckily, he signed 30 of them last year in free agency. Stay away from the stupid signings, please.
You think this regime will?
I fucking hope so. Tom Telesco. If you look at what he did, he had a couple bad contracts, J.C. Jackson, but everybody was going to sign J.C. Jackson that contract.
Right? They were trying at the time. He was the price. He was the token for sure.
So you can say that was a bad one, but like look at Mac. That's been a pretty good free agent pickup for them. He hasn't missed a lot in free agency. He shouldn't have given Mike Williams a contract to receiver that they gave. Now he's like, fucking hurt all the time.
Right.
But I think with his history, I think that we don't. But I fucking hope not, dude. I just plead. I'm so nervous fucking on the 13th on Wednesday.
Well, I think it's because the last two regimes have done exactly the big splashy, flashy.
Yes, Russell Wilson would have been.
We're trying to pull our wieners out and show it off to the world when it's like, just stop.
Just take one of those
Just
kids
stop.
at 13.
Take one deep breath. Realize that you're trying to make headlines. You're not trying to win football games.
Yeah.
These signings are about headlines, not wins.
Don't be cute. Don't be cute.
Football's not a cute game for sure. I love that.
That's why Chris Jones or Christian Wilkins should be your number one target, along with Mike Alanu from the right tackle from the Patriots. Get one of those guys, sear up that. Then maybe look at Tre'Davious White at corner. Depending on price tags in some of these corners, like your Xavier Howard, your Gilmores, are those guys still worth the price tag that they might be asking for?
Sure.
Yes. So that's where my fandom's at. Check us out on Instagram and X.
Two quick notes before we sign off.
Yeah,
let's go. Just if you haven't checked it out, that Anthony Joshua Brule KO'd
good callback. Ngannou, he absolutely buries him. So he knocks him down a couple of times, and on the last thrust, he just ends his it's not lights out. Bagah. It's impressive for a man that size to generate that kind of power. Is fucking against a man. Ngannou is no small human being.
He's kind of fallen off lately. Ngannou.
Well, he went from the UFC to he almost beat Tyson Fury in his last fight. Like they gave it to Tyson Fury because they couldn't let Ngannou beat him. But he has not backed down. These are two former heavyweight champions. He's not fighting scrubs. He's not doing this. Now that you called out this fight, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have signed
I was just gonna say
to fight each other now. And that is a mockery. This fight at least was two heavyweights.
I hope
Anthony Joshua is pretty damn close to the height of his career still, and Ngannou is only I think 29 or 30. He's not necessarily old either. So it's not like these are relics. Mike Tyson will be 58
I hope
when
Tyson
this fight happens.
punches Jake Paul's mouth through his back of his head.
We all do, but it's not set up for that. Just like all his fights. But one other thing I wanted to touch on real quick.
Dude, because Mike Tyson could
touch on it, Trev. Touch on it.
Just for the golf fans, Arnold Palmer
Good
Invitational. Call. There are 6 guys tied for first going into today, and it's never happened before. This is the most in the history. It's all neck and neck. It should make for some good
Some good.
I might have to check that out. I love watching golf on Sunday.
If you can be patient enough to enjoy golf, it can be a wonderful experience.
Did you
but
see the other golf news?
Traditionally, I'm not.
That there's no live guys on the teams that were just picked. It's not Ryder Cup or there's a
The
team.
Olympics team?
No, I might something like that. Hold on, let me try to pull it up. But check us out on Instagram and all that. We'll get back with the golf thing and X.
Dude, 4 great beers that will be up on
Great.
Instagram. Make sure you listen to us on Buzzsprout and show some love on Spotify too if you love the audio. YouTube for obviously the video cuts, which is our favorites. I love our beautiful faces.
Talking about
52 is coming up, dude. That's the yearly. That's the wrap. That'll be the wrap of season 1, I suppose.
Talking about beers this week. These 4 beers blew the
Smacked.
fucking water out of the 4 beers we had last week.
I don't know. I liked some of the beers we had last week too.
I liked them, but these 4 were way better. These 4 were like.
There you go.
These 4 were.
You guys got to listen to us for beer talk at least. Our sports talk is a little shaky, but the beer talk is truth for sure. All right, we'll see you soon.
Keep checking out that draft
52.
shit.
Ha, ga, 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 ga.